Good evening again, all of you. I've been enjoying reading your posts this week. Lots of interesting posts, lots of interest in all of this material. I think that clearly Rambam's discussion of moral characteristics, psychology, all of these things are basically pretty accessible, most of the material that he talks about here, as well as things that we have our own opinions about. So lots of stuff there, both in the first discussion thread and in the second discussion thread. And I think you also have noticed some of the problems and issues. I'm very pleased with the kind of discussions, with the issues that you're raising, whether it's with the golden mean and all the problems associated with it, or other issues, why he focuses on anger or bearing a grudge or gossip or things like that. All very, I think, very, very appropriate comments that you're making. I've actually sort of offered my general comments on this material in the discussion threads. Nothing new, nothing much new to offer here, other than to repeat that, in my view, the comments Maimonides offers here are his own psychological and therapeutic advice about how to live a good life, one where you are in control of your emotions, and one in which you show proper concern for yourself and for the other. He's very taken with the idea of not going to extremes and living according to the middle way. He also realizes that extremism is a good quality for certain kinds of things. As some of you wrote, it's a sort of up to the individual in many ways. He'll give you some advice, but it's up to the individual in many ways for him to decide which is which. I'm really impressed, as I wrote, of the autonomy that he gives the individual in these things. Doesn't say this is what you have to do and this is where you're going to go with it. It's really very sort of very open-ended, not usually the way we think about Maimonides. All of this, however, these things about character traits, is in the service of living a life which will be good for you and others and for the elite philosophical group. It means that the common people will be able to function in building and maintaining society, so that the elite will be able to focus on their intellectual pursuits. In all of his writing, some of you have been asking who's the audience he's writing for. Well, lots of different audiences, but at least I would say he's always writing for two audiences, for the masses and for the elite. Sometimes it's clear who his audience is, and other times it's not clear at all, and sometimes he goes back and forth. So that's my comments on Hillchot Deot. As far as the Shmona Prakim is concerned, you all saw the similarities between what he is discussing here and what he discussed in the Hillchot Deot. Some of you saw some disparities between the two books. Remember that the Shmona Prakim is written as an introduction to Pirkei Avot, which is itself a series of admonitions and aphorisms, while the Hillchot Deot is written as part of Sefer Hamadah, which is an introduction to the Mishnah Torah as a whole. We will ask the question in the coming week, what are the implications of this distinction? The Shmona Prakim eventually takes you to quite a different place than the Hillchot Deot takes you. In the end, the moral life is a preparation for the intellectual life, at least for the elite, and perhaps for some people that's as far as they can get. Although even there, I think that, as we saw from the beginning of Sefer Hamadah and the Hillchot Yesodei Torah, that there are some basic things that aren't necessarily moral, basic things that even the masses need to know with regard to God and their relationship to God, and God as the designer of the universe, and all of these kinds of things as well. So this material that we looked at this past week brings you into this world of ethics, morality, psychology, character traits, a different way of talking about these things. And usually when you read moral theory, doesn't really get so much into all of these practical things, although it's called the practical intellect. Kant talks about it as the practical reason, and Aristotle and Plato as well. So we'll do one more week and perhaps some other things next week as well, but we're going to be finishing the Shmona Prakim and spend a lot more time talking about it. One of the interesting things we're going to get to is talk about Tamei Mitzvot, the reasons behind the commandments. One of you, I think Kathy, raised the question of rational laws, traditional laws. We're going to spend a little bit of time looking at that. There's a lot more to say about that in the Guide of the Perplexed, along with this idea of the veils, along with lots of interesting issues that are raised in the Parak Hashmini, in the 8th Parak of the Shmona Prakim. So I'm looking forward to continuing our studies, and I've been enjoying participating when I've been able to in your Chevruta time, and I look forward to that in the coming week as well. So good night, and we'll talk to you next week.